for the session, because that's an invaluable Exportia LAB that we have. Thanks so much, Yuri, for making the early wake-up call for us here. Very grateful. So I'm going to bring you to a Q&A, but before I'll do a slight introduction, and then I'm coming back to you with some questions about our topic today. Stay tuned. So Yuri will be back with us. This is our Exportia LAB for November. I'm Christelle, I'm your host. Most of you know me. We are live streamed on LinkedIn, where most of our guests are, and we are also on Zoom. So welcome everyone. Very excited to have you for the second episode of our Selling Successfully in Europe with E-commerce session. Our second episode is about a tricky topic, which I wanted to make sure we cover, is how to comply with the new European rule around VAT when selling through an online shop or an e-commerce site. And that's why I've invited Yuri from Briddge Legal, which will be our guest and our expert on the tax topic. And so I have a few questions for him. I just do a short introductions, and I can see there's already a question coming up. So let's fire up and get started. Okay, why are we doing this series of e-commerce? Because 71% of the European Union population is buying online. And the ones of you that don't know me, I'm Christelle, I'm your host. You know me as the founder of Exportia. I'm about to release my third book early 23. This is my team based in Europe and in Australia, and we work with non-European businesses in Europe, and we grow their sales. And that's our objective, 1 million euros for every client we bring on board. Okay, why are we doing this series here? Why do we have Yuri from Briddge Legal and Finance today? Because, first of all, the first reason we're doing an e-commerce session and series, it's because this is a trend to stay. So a lot of businesses have the infrastructure now to deal online. Consumers are used to it, and they have shown some preference in buying online. So we have to kind of deal with it. Reason two, e-commerce lowers the barrier when we want to go into export and exporting to the European market. It makes it very easy for small, medium-sized, high-growth businesses to enter a market. That's why we're here. Third reason, new trend, business to business is now also quite optimistic and on the rise with e-commerce. It's a new trend, and there's a lot of our customers, a lot of businesses that are dealing in B2B that are also interested in e-commerce. So we have done, episode 1 was foreign exchange cash flow. We're doing today episode 2 with Yuri, who's our expert. We're talking about the VAT rules, value-added tax in Europe, and the one-stop shop. So welcome, Yuri. I'll bring you back in. Thanks for
Thank you very much.
Yuri is based in Amsterdam. That's why it's 6 a.m. for him. So very warm welcome from us. So just quickly, Briddge is a legal and finance business based in Amsterdam. It's like a one-stop solution for legal services, accounting, finance, for international small and medium-sized businesses. So very appropriate to the type of businesses we're working with. That's why you're here, Yuri. So you're a tax associate. Is that right?
Yes, indeed. Yes.
Okay. So can you tell us, please, what's in a nutshell the one-stop shop? What is this? What is it about?
So yeah, I would start, first of all, thank you very much for introduction and also for welcoming me today, hosting me today at this webinar. I would explain, starting with a very brief introduction, how e-commerce works here and then we can go directly to the OSS, which is one-stop shop.
Sounds good.
So, of course, in some situations we have cases when we sell B2B or B2C.
Yep.
And when it's straightforward situation with B2B, and of course we are coming back to that later today at this session.
Yep.
With B2C, the situation is not that clear. And meaning that it's not that clear, it's more complicated when you sell B2C.
Okay.
And in our case, we have three different case scenarios. When we have goods which we sell directly from outside the European Union.
Yes.
So goods are physically not in the EU. For example, yep. Goods are in Australia, and yep. then we sell them to private customers to the Netherlands, to the European Union. When okay. we have goods located already physically at the warehouse inside the European Union, and then we sell them to private customers, or as and the last case scenario when we sell just services, so goods are not involved.
Okay.
So these three different case scenarios, they will involve three different registrations. One registration is called OSS, which is our one-stop shop, and okay. we have two. And inside one-stop shop, we have two different schemes. One is called union scheme, and one is called non-union scheme. Now it's coming. Yeah, I know that it's very difficult to understand exactly at the first time. Yeah, what's happening here, because it's very, like maybe a complex topic. But I would like to make it a bit easier for our listeners.
Yes, please.
So yes, indeed. So speaking straightforwardly and easily, let's say, when you have someone in Europe who doesn't need to file VAT return, who is a private customer, the liability to file, to report, and to pay lies on the business. Okay. Doesn't matter, since the final customer is the final person who is enjoying the product, who has some benefit from the product, the liability to pay, to report is on the business. Doesn't matter where the business is located.
Okay, so I'm an Australian business. I'm selling my product online to a consumer. I'm the one who's going to have to lodge a return for the VAT that I'm selling to that French consumer or Dutch consumer. Okay.
Indeed, yes. So in a nutshell, to say that OSS, one-stop shop, is a simplified registration which allow you as an Australian business
yes.
to file and to comply with your VAT tax obligations
yes.
in the European Union.
Okay, and that's a scheme that has been created by the European Union. So it's a government scheme.
It's a governmental scheme. It was created by the European Commission, first of all, and then it was approved by the European Parliament. And since the 1st of July, 2021, it's in power. So legislation came in power, and we can use it on a daily basis. Yeah.
Okay, so we're very clear that for the B2C, I'm selling to an end consumer, a European household, a European end consumer, it applies. Now, if I'm a B2B, if I'm selling to a small business in Europe, does that apply?
No.
Okay.
OSS only applies to B2C transactions, B2C sales. That's when we need this specific, and that's actually the nature, that's actually the idea of OSS behind it, because it is the simplified scheme. I would like to stress here that it's simplified scheme, because before the 1st of July 2021, the seller was obliged to register in each particular member state. Before Brexit, we had 28, now we have 27. So it was more complex compliance deal for the seller to deal with VAT, with tax rules in the European Union before the 1st of July. Then it became after the 1st of July, because after the 1st of July, there is only one scheme, one registration, which is called OSS, which allows you to register in one member state, to report all your tax obligations in one member state, but to sell to all customers throughout the European Union, but
Yes.
to be attached only to one member state and to deal only with one tax office. Let's say it could be the Netherlands, it could be Romania, it could be Germany. In our case, of course, we are dealing only with the Netherlands since we are based here.
Okay. So if you are selling to consumers via your e-commerce site, what's the first thing you need to do?
The first, yes, we. It's a very important question actually, because we have to identify the place where the transportation of goods start.
Okay.
So that's purely the legal definition. So the transportation of goods for VAT purposes, but for our aims, it's really important, because if the transportation of goods start outside the European Union,
yes,
then we have one type of registration for which we need to register ourselves as a seller. If a transportation of goods starts in the Netherlands or in any other warehouse from the warehouse of any other European country, then it's another type of registration. And if we sell services, it's absolutely, it's also different size, different.
So in that case, I'm a small business. I'm going to work with a consignment agency based in the Netherlands. So shipping to them in the Netherlands, and then they're going to dispatch for me to my consumer.
Yes.
That's another type of registration. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what we call, it's not OSS, so not one-stop shop, it's IOSS, import one-stop shop, because OSS is basically related only to the goods which are already physically in any European country. Let's say they're already at the warehouse in the Netherlands.
Yes.
And if we use logistics provider through which we dispatch all our goods, let's say from Australia, we can apply for the specific registration called IOSS, import one-stop shop, and we can send goods directly to the Netherlands, and then they are going to be dispatched to Romania, to Italy, to Germany, to any other 27 member states, with one IOSS number which is assigned to the business, to the Australian business, for example. Australian business shouldn't be incorporated here. It shouldn't have a permanent establishment. It shouldn't have a warehouse. The only what should be is the OSS registration, which is given to the Australian business, and then consignee, logistics provider, is going to report all VAT paid, depending on the final place of destination of the consumer. Of course, it could be Germany, Romania, charging correct. It's up for the business, not for the consignee, of course, charging correct VAT, and sending the goods throughout Europe, paying to one tax office. If you register with the Netherlands, with the Dutch tax office, you pay all amount of money charged to private consumers just to the Dutch tax office, and sending goods directly throughout the Europe.
Okay, so that means that as a business, if we're dispatching from the Netherlands to consumers in different European countries, and we have a consignment partner in the Netherlands, we need to know what VAT we're going to charge, basically, because each country has a different VAT. Is that right?
Indeed, that's true. That makes it a bit, I can understand, it makes it a bit more complex, but at the first sight. However, it's not complex at all, because in general we have 27 member states, and doing business just through, let's say, making those sales via using Excel sheet, and just make it some very smart formula who can indicate the final destination of the customer and charging correct VAT rate. And now I'm talking only about Excel simple formula. Let's say if you use special software, which like, let's say Alavara software, which can immediately identify where consumer is located based on the address of the consumer, and then applying correct VAT rate. But it's up to the business. It's up to the business how you would like to do it.
Okay.
You can self-identify how much VAT should be paid, depending on the final place of destination of the consumer, or you can allow a third-party supplier using their software to do it for you, and then to record all transactions in your accounting system.
Yeah, okay. And so if you're new, if you're a non-European business and you want to register, what are the formalities like? Is it you do that online? Is that hard, easy? What do you need to provide? How does that all work?
Indeed. So as I already mentioned, 3 different types of registration: ISS, OSS Union, and OSS non-union.
Okay.
For now, we are coming to the case scenario when you are non-European business, your goods are not physically in the Netherlands, and then you just wanted to sell it to private customers outside, and transportation of goods starts outside. In this case, we are talking about ISS, Import One-Stop Shop. For this one, in order to register, you need intermediary in the Netherlands. It's called tax intermediary. And then it's basically, to make it as much as I can simple, then it's a job for the intermediary to complete this registration for non-EU business.
Okay, so basically, so I'm a non-EU business, I'm exporting my stock to the Netherlands, and I need to dispatch it then in other countries. I need a tax intermediate. You
need tax intermediary, and then the only difference, and the only issue here is that in the tax intermediary sharing common liability, common responsibility with the business which is non-EU.
Okay.
And that's a question how you as a non-EU business would like to proceed. What kind of agreement do you have with your tax intermediary in order to share that responsibility, that liability for payments of VAT, for reporting VAT, and basically communication with the tax office.
Okay, so that's only if you have an import, somebody doing the importing for you, right?
Indeed. Okay. For example.
So that's okay. If I don't have an import, I'm selling directly, let's say from Australia, I'm shipping my goods directly to the Netherlands. I'm selling a cosmetic to a Dutch lady.
You are selling cosmetics.
How do I register?
If you would like. So now we are coming a bit to a different topic. The only what I really wanted to mention before we close our
sorry, go again.
Yes, that goods, the amount of goods should not exceed 150 euros.
Okay.
So if, let's say, you send a box of different goods, cosmetics.
Yes.
You have ISS number, then VAT is not paid at the entrance during the importation procedure. That's why the scheme is really simple, because you have one ISS number. You give this OSS number to your logistics provider. Logistics provider just take all your goods. It could be different goods, but in different boxes, and one box does not exceed 150.
Okay.
And then postal provider, logistics provider sends these goods, dispatches these goods through the Netherlands to different EU member states without paying VAT at the entrance.
Okay.
However, of course, you are charging VAT based on the final place of destination. You mentioned right now, when you are as a non-EU business taking your cosmetics, let's say you're not using ISS, you're not using any other things, let's say, right? Any simplified registrations. You just take your goods, you bring them, you use a logistics provider, you bring them to the Netherlands. The first step, what should you do? You have to import them. You have to pay VAT on your goods. And after you pay VAT on your goods, you have to store them somewhere. Even if you don't store them somewhere, you send them directly to the final customer. You have to be, very important, you have to be registered for VAT in the country to where you sell goods to a private customer. So it makes this situation absolutely super complicated, because Now you're taking full responsibility for doing all tax matters by yourself.
Yeah, okay.
Without using OSS or OSS structures.
And what advice would you give you to, I mean, for me, I think that businesses should get advice on that, and to
Indeed.
cater for their individual situation. So how can Briddge help in the process, like to find the right case, and how do you guys help?
Yes, basically we deal with various case scenarios, so we can help with any case scenarios which can, theoretically and potentially exist in nature.
Yes.
We have a broad experience on registrations, any type of registrations, ISS, OSS, union, non-union. We are working closely with the tax office in the Netherlands.
Yes.
And we have a direct, since we have all necessary tax local registrations as intermediary, as tax services supplier, we can do any form of service which is a non-European business requires.
Yes.
So based on the individual case scenario of each business, we have to read it, we have to assess facts and circumstances, what's happening with the business, what kind of goods, what kind of services the business offers. And then based on that, we can proceed with the next step, with the registration, with the simplification, with payments, etc., etc., etc. The only what I have to say that if you sell tobacco, if you sell some alcohol, drinks and stuff, these schemes are not applicable, also for gold. So those, let's make it simple. For those goods for which you pay excise duties, that's not possible. That's what existing after the 1st of July 2021 is not possible. We have to apply general rules, common rules, which were existing always. For those goods, one more time, for those goods for which you pay excise duties, tobacco, alcohol, perfume, all this, for those simplified schemes that do not exist.
Okay. All right. So, okay. So what those businesses can do is they can just send you an email where we'll put some information about Briddge and in the follow-up email, and so that following the session, so that anyone can assess for their own specific cases. I wondered, so there are some businesses that are selling potentially services online. Let's say if I'm selling a machine.
Indeed.
Now I want to sell a service package with my machine, and I want to do it on e-commerce. How? You mentioned that service was different. Let's say I want to sell service to a B2B business, to another business. How does that work?
Okay.
Online.
I would like to make a small clarification. Everything what we have discussed, it applies B2C.
Okay.
B2C. Right. So because now you're saying service B2B.
Yes.
If we the same, vice versa, if we are talking about sale of goods B2B, we are not obliged to do anything.
Perfect.
The only difference if we don't import goods ourselves. So if we have a B2B transaction, that, for example, if we are talking about goods, and our customer acts as a importer of records, so the customer is going to import goods to the European Union, we just sell them, and we don't take care of any other obligations, because the point of entry is any country in the EU, and the customer is responsible for imports. Done. Sale of services. When you, as an Australian business, sell services B2B, you don't need to do anything.
Okay.
Your customer, your business customer registered in the EU is going to self-assess VAT and to pay it.
Okay.
No action for you as an Australian business, B2B. When you sell B2C, that's of course different, because the final customer, private customer, does not need to file VAT report, tax report, and to pay VAT on independently, because it's a private customer. In that case, we have one-stop shop non-union scheme. In this, and registration is straightforward. It's done through the tax portal. You is a non-European business is assigned a special tax number, and then on a quarterly basis, you report all transactions, B2C, supply of services to private consumers in any European country. For business B2C supply of services, the procedure is really straightforward, simple. You just need to register. You need to charge VAT based on the final destination of your customer, and then to pay it.
Okay.
No more, no less. For B2C services, I think it's the ideal case scenario when you sell only services to private customers, because it actually gives you a really big market.
Okay.
It gives you a very big piece of a pie in the European Union, because the registration is really simplified. You don't need to register in each member state as it was before the 1st of July 2021. You just register in the Netherlands. We can help with that, and then you charge VAT and you sell to all 27 member states supply of services as a non-EU business.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I'm sorry to say we're already coming to the end of the 30 minutes. And so,
unfortunately.
So I think that there's really a need for people to come to you with specific questions, maybe if they have. This is a specific, Michael just made a comment, he's saying this is a very complex topic, and there are so many different cases that this is just, we're just making you aware of that there is an OSS scheme. This is the objective of this lab. And in 20 minutes, we won't be able to cover all kinds of different configurations, but the objective is we're making you aware that there is this one-stop shop scheme from the European Union if we deal with e-commerce on B2C, and that you need to be aware of it. After that, everybody is free to actually look for their own information and seek some help. And so what we'll do is we'll put some in the follow-up meeting, in the follow-up of the email, sorry, we would put some contact of Yuri for you to send and ask some questions. And I'm happy to also, you can also send them to me. I'm happy to pass them on. And I just would like to thank you, Yuri, for your time. I'm aware that this is early for you. So let me just let you know that this topic was episode 2. Our next topic will be around organizing e-fulfillment and 3PL in Europe. When you have a e-commerce site, it might be interesting to think about the organization and the logistics, and to get it organized in Europe to be able to dispatch pretty quickly. This will be the theme of the 3rd episode, and it's planned for the 6th of December. And I'll be very happy to discuss that, to present that to you with our guest. Yuri, I would like to thank you for your participation. You might get a lot of questions from that session. And so thank you so much for making the time, delving into some of those issues. But really the objective was to making aware non-EU businesses, there is the OSS, it's recently came into place, and everybody needs to be aware of it. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you for the invitation, and I look forward to receiving all kinds of questions. And I would like to make a small note here, according to the previous comment.
Yes.
It may sound a bit complicated when in the reality it's not. Because it sounds that there are different rules, different applications, and etc. But the nature of the this structure is really simplified. So it was simplified since 1st of July 2021. Before it was complex. Before it was difficult, right? And from now it just sounds difficult when in the reality it's not. And when you get used to the sales in the European Union, then you see how easy, how simple is to report all of them. Just sharing with me one final VAT report and doing and letting me and letting a Dutch supplier or any other European tax supplier to do all the job for non-EU business.
Yeah, so I guess it's about finding out what applies to my business. Once you know what applies to you, then you just set it up. It's brushing out all the different scenarios and possibilities may sound a little bit daunting, but it doesn't apply for every business, all of those scenarios.
Indeed.
So, okay,
Indeed.
all right. Well, I'd like to thank you for clarifying that for us. And I'll see you around, and reach out to Yuri. I'm gonna send you his details. If you have any questions, just reach out to him. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. See you in December to talk about logistics. See you there.
See you.
See you, Yuri. Bye-bye.